Somebody's mother's maiden name is not secret. Somebody's date of birth is not secret. Somebody's high school is not secret. Even somebody's favorite color or their pet, their first dog's name or whatever is not secret anymore, because people have that information up on their profiles. They have it in their Facebooks. They have it on their blogs. So the secret information we're using is not secret anymore. So we need to stop using that data for remote authentication. We as an industry need to think of ways we can better authenticate and identify clients and remote users. I think one thing we have to recognize as well is that in the modern world, that once the umbilical cord is cut when you're born from your mother, your identity depends on third parties. You are no longer in control of your identity. We all depend on a third party to verify who we are, be that your passport, your driver's license, whatever. We all depend on third parties. So those third parties have an obligation to protect that information, and we need to make sure that if we're one of those third parties, we are protecting that information properly as well. Your personal data can reside on servers not in the EU. And that has a lot of implications, because A, it's not covered by the Data Protection Act. And if it's not covered by the Data Protection Act, a lot of other companies outside the EU don't even have strict privacy policies. If you take that website, ponce.com, I actually contacted them and said, hey guys, I think you've got a vulnerability on your system that private information is being displayed. And they actually replied to me and said, no, it's not. If you read our terms and conditions on our privacy policy, we say your information can be displayed by your friends. Now Marie, when she signed up, did not read that privacy policy, because guess why? It's too long, too complicated. She just wanted to be, she got an invite from a friend, she wanted to join the network, she clicked OK, up popped the privacy policy, and she just clicked I accept the terms and conditions, and in she went. So, we need to be careful about the privacy policies we develop and how we present that to the clients and users we have as well. Make sure they're easy for people to understand and that they understand the risks that they face. And the data is permanent. What goes on the internet stays on the internet. As I said, I looked into her Twitter stream. I'd done a Twitter search, and I had pages and pages of information that I could wade through and find out more personal information about Marie. I was finding out which pub she was going to. I was finding out what parties were happening. I was finding out a lot about her real world life from what was on the virtual world. So social networks can be particularly dangerous. Now, I'm a big user of social networks myself. I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. But we have to remember that in those social networks, yes, the key is that they're social, but they're not the same social as they are in the real world. Like, we'd be in the bar later on this evening, we'd be having conversations. But once those conversations are over, those conversations are lost and gone forever. We have a conversation on Twitter or Facebook or wherever else, that conversation stays online forever. There are tools you can use, the Wayback Machine, etc., to get information that's been lost from 10, 15 years ago. But we need to remember that information can be permanent. And your friends can leak your information. Without you knowing it, your friends could be leaking your information somewhere. There's always actually a famous case in Ireland. Remember the local elections we had during the summer back in June? There was Fine Gael is one of the big parties in Ireland. There was a young lady who was a candidate for them in one of the local elections, and her profile was very professional. She was in her 20s, always in a business suit, always looking very smart, very professional. And then the newspapers done a search on her on Facebook, and not in her profile but one of her friends' profiles was a picture of herself and her friends on holiday in Ibiza, in a bar, drunk, kissing each other. And of course that's the one that the newspapers ran with, not the professional one. Now, I don't know how many votes she got. I'm sure the male population probably gave her quite a few votes, but your friends can leak your information and can damage you online as well. And if you use tools like Maltego or even manually like I did, you can do a profile of somebody quite quickly. You can build up a profile of people from snippets of information you get from different sites. You can build up a profile of yourself or other people as well. And you may not own the information you put up on the internet. There's lots of controversy over Facebook and its privacy policy and who owns the data that's on it, and same with MySpace, etc. So information you put onto those sites, under the terms and conditions of those sites, you may not own the information. So again, we need to be careful what it is. So be careful for the terms of use that you use. I think a big lesson we learned as well is because the amount of information she was leaking through Twitter and through Facebook or wherever she was going, a lot of your online activity could impact your real world activity. So, you know, if we go to the extreme and we take somebody who wants to bully people, you know, getting the information online, it's giving them more ammunition that they can use to bully the person in the real world. Or on burglary, you know, hey guys, I'm heading off to New York for the weekend. Okay, there's an empty apartment. Or someone wants to stalk you, ex-lover, somebody who wants to be with you, you don't want to be with them. Well, you're telling all your friends and the world that you're going to be in such a bar tonight. Don't be too surprised if the person you don't want to be there might turn up. So, you know, you need to be particularly careful what goes on. And there have been cases where some information leaks have led to physical attacks as well. And there have been some real-world examples. Like some of this is not just theory, me making it up. Back in June of this year, the FBI warned a lot of Asian businessmen in California that there was a scam going on whereby they were getting emails threatening them with physical violence, that they didn't pay up an X amount of money, somebody's going to pay a visit to them and break their legs. But when the FBI investigated the case, they discovered that those emails were actually coming from Asia, and that the people who were sending the threats weren't even in America. They were building the profiles of Asian businessmen from what information they could find on the internet, and then trying to intimidate them into giving up their money. Here's another real-world example. Allegedly, this gentleman on Twitter tweeted, "We made the Kansas City in one piece. We're visiting at Noel Hyman's family. Can't wait to get some good video online while we're here." So while he was there, somebody was in his house and burgled his house. And he believes the reason they knew he wasn't there was because they found his Twitter stream, and therefore knew his house was empty and burgled him. Two very famous cases. The Twitter hack that happened recently, whereby Google Apps was hacked into by some hackers. And how they got in was they done a profile of one of the Twitter employees and used the secret questions to reset their password for Google Apps, and then they were in. So they got access to email and all the documentation within Twitter via Google. And then of course Sarah Palin, when her Yahoo account got hacked during her campaign last year to become Vice President of America, her account was reset because the secret questions asked were, where did you go to high school? What is your favorite color? So of course you go on to Sarah Palin's biography online and it tells you where she went to high school. You do a few more searches and there's probably an interview somewhere where she told somebody her favorite color was blue or red or whatever it was. And that person then was able to reset her password and then log in and get into her Yahoo email account. So again, secret questions, as I said earlier on, are not so secret anymore. So I suppose I'm very conscious I'm standing between you guys and beer, so we're going to try and wrap it up in a minute. But I think the key message we need to remember is what goes on the internet stays on the net. Okay, information you put up online is going to stay online, it's permanent. Your friends can compromise you. So, you know, be careful what you share online and maybe educate your friends as well as to what the dangers are so they are careful with the information that they have. One of the key messages I'm trying to deliver as part of this talk in various places is we no longer have secret questions, or if we do, we need to think of better ones to ask people, and better ways to identify people. We also need to remember that the virtual world can impact on the real world as well. So right now, people know that I'm here in Brussels. So, yeah, maybe somebody's visiting my house right now that I don't want to know. But we need to be aware of those things and be careful what we say or how long you're going to be away for or whatever. I think, you know, again, as a society, we need to look at how we create somebody's ID. As I said, once the umbilical cord is cut, your ID depends on third parties to verify it. So we need to, I think,